taken long enough for that sketch. I shall expect a really fine work of art.
Oh, no, don't look at it. It's not nearly good enough.
Well, it can't be as bad as all that. Now, don't rub it all out. Let me see it first.
Well, it's the perspective. I never can get it right.
Let me see. Oh, dear. Tell me, is it the perspective that gives my nose that curious twist in the middle?
Well, you're not a very easy subject to sketch. Your expression keeps changing all the time.
Does it? Well, I'd concentrate on the view instead if I were you. Much more worthwhile.
If you love listening to this show, please consider giving a rating and a review on Amazon Alexa or wherever you listen. We want to continue bringing you this amazing content, and part of our ability to do that means that we need a big audience. Now, it may not seem like much, but rating and reviewing the show will help more people find us, just like how you found this show. Simply on any podcast platform, search for a show, scroll down to the bottom, and push 5 stars. It's that easy. Thanks for supporting the show. Today, I'm joined by Brandon Maseda, who is a co-founder and CEO of Excel Robotics. Welcome to the show today.
Great. Thank you for having me.
You spent over almost a decade running an innovation agency called theLIFT, and I wonder how that experience has prepared you for your current role at Excel Robotics.
Well, we worked with a number of large companies and startups working on blue sky innovation projects. Our company would present new versions or visions for what the technologies that those companies were developing could offer. So that gave me a pretty deep background in coming with new ideas and how to apply technologies as they come to the market.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what's interesting about agency is that it's really, there's a kind of a, like I say, kind of a blue ocean mindset of just about anything, but it's really oriented towards the user experience. And I wonder, especially in the context of what you're doing today, it's really quite complicated, right? Because we're talking about potential sensors, hardware, machine learning, as well as near field technology that's picking up information. And then, of course, it has to feed into some sort of POS system. So there's a lot of complexity. So from the end user experience, it's quite frictionless and fluid. But from a technology stack, it can be fairly complicated. So how do you start to think about that from a solutioning, again, whether it's in the LIFT context or in the work that you're doing today?
Yeah, at Excel Robotics, I mean, we've assembled an amazing team, full stack team, hardware, software, user experience researchers, really trying to think about creating this new type of shopping experience for consumers. And I think the only thing probably more complex than what we're working on right now is probably a full self-driving car. So we always say that our kind of computer vision systems are kind of working on a similar vein as someone like Tesla. So it is complex. There's a lot of moving pieces. We have to partner with certain trusted partners around payments and identities. And so we've done that. But when we really think about, what's the best experience for the consumer, what technology makes the most sense for those types of experiences. And I think we take all that into consideration to kind of create an overall piece. And I guess we kind of think about it when a customer goes into the store, really, they're kind of on a stage, and we want them to have an amazing experience. When they leave, they say, oh, wow, it should feel magical. And I think that's what this technology can provide.
Mm-hmm. Maybe a good starting point for us is, as part of defining what Excel Robotics does, is if you can explain what does it mean to move towards a fully automated shopping experience?
Right. So our view is that the store should basically have kind of full knowledge of all aspects of what's in that space. So the store should know exactly what products are on the shelves. When a customer walks into the store, they should really know about that customer, be able to give them information as they kind of go through their shopping journey, picking up items and moving through that space. So when a customer enters our stores, we track the customer. It's actually all anonymous from our side of it. So we don't use any facial recognition or any technology like that. We use cameras to track people. We use cameras to track products. And then as the shopper moves through the space, there's a lot of really interesting and valuable data that's collected from that. And when the shopper walks out, they just walk out and they no longer have to check out. So from our view, that really unlocks a lot of new type of shopping formats wherever people live, work, travel, and play.
So when you describe that, I think for those that are listening, we think in terms of Amazon Go as a kind of a benchmark of experience. And certainly there are other providers that are providing a kind of a fuller suite or maybe a subset of those capabilities. How does Accel Robotics stack up, and what are you guys doing different from others?
Yeah. So we have a very efficient method for tracking people. So when people go into the store, again, it's all tracked anonymously, but we can run these small format stores off of one computer, which is pretty much a game changer as far as the amount of CapEx or expense for starting these stores experiences. And so with that lower cost, low operational cost as well, we feel we can now deliver these stores in a wide variety of environments. So you can imagine the base of a residential building or by an office complex where maybe you can have an extended pantry for the people of that building to be able to go down and grab whatever products or pieces that they want 24/7. So it really unlocks a lot of potential with that type of cost and accuracy.
So let's get a little bit more granular in terms of the kind of technologies that you guys are using. So you mentioned computer vision, and because the fact that it's running off a single machine probably means that you guys are not necessarily persisting the footage, but rather it's really more the identification, running of the classifiers. What exactly is it looking at, and what has the training been done on?
Yeah, so that's one of the benefits of the way we've optimized the technology. We're actually using a lot of geometry of watching people through space. So we're not tracking every single frame of every single body limb as someone walks through the space. So as you mentioned, we're basically looking for key events, so space-time events when a customer is very close to picking up a product or removing a product, and then actually watching what the product was on the shelf and was off the shelf afterwards. So what that ends up doing is allowing us to process very efficiently people as they move through the space, and we're able to then now deliver that solution with a very low computational overload.
So again, getting a little bit more specific is where are the placement of the cameras? What exactly are they looking at? And how are you reconciling that SKU or unique ID with that particular product?
Yeah, so we have cameras above that track people. We have cameras at a shelf level that track the products. We also have, in certain environments, some additional sensing that's available, which could be weight sensing or some other methodologies. And we've developed technology of what we're calling an onboarding box that actually allows us to kind of very quickly onboard new products into the system. Once that product's uploaded into the system, it's easily recognized throughout the store.
So again, a lot of, I think, different retailers are using different types of capabilities, near field, RFID, small, essentially IoT capabilities for, like I said, weight. It could be lots of different types of dimensions. How do you know that the system has in fact captured the right particular product and the right SKU?
Yeah. So when we onboard a product into the system, we verify that the product has been uploaded properly. Once it's in the system, that's where one of the things we pride ourselves on. The system is actually very accurate. We know the size, the dimension of the product, the weight as well. So all that information enables our system to be truly autonomous and actually people to walk in and grab items and then just walk out.
And in that repository, is it also training off the images? So let's take an example of Campbell soup. So is it actually understanding kind of the general geometry, but also the labeling and some form of, let's say, computer vision to text or speech to text type of a translation, so that it understands what it's actually looking at?
Yeah, exactly. So the product, the easiest way to think about it, traditionally, a cashier would scan a barcode that's on the back of a product when they're checking out a customer at a store. The difference now is the actual product itself is now the barcode, and the cameras are seeing what the product looks like. That in combination with some of the other sensing modalities let us know exactly, hey, that specific product was pulled off the shelf by a customer, and then we link that with the overhead cameras, and from there we're able to get very accurate carts, and I said deliver that at a very low cost.
So again, just to be clear, is if that product is slightly, let's say, rotated at a certain angle, would it still be able to actually recognize it maybe from the back or from a kind of a skewed angle?
Yes, that's correct. So we have, again, when we onboard a product, we have kind of full 360 view of what the product looks like from all different angles. So we're able to see that in the store environment. And then the way we've positioned the cameras, we kind of have clear sight of all the different shelving as well.
Amazing, amazing. So talk about, let's take, I think going back to Amazon Go as an example, what are they doing and how is that fundamentally different from what you guys are doing?
You may also like our quarterly Ask Your Perkins event that brings some of the most notable experts and category leading startups in their area of sustainability and human survival on Earth and in space. To register, visit askyourperkins.com/events.
Yeah, so Amazon, I think, is probably one of the companies that's out there that I think has taken, we think, an accurate approach towards going to market with this. That rather than just overhead cameras only, which has been kind of a claim by some of the other, I say, competitors in the space. They have a multi sensing stack that they're bringing, weight sensing, other types of sensing modalities. But from our view, in talking with other customers, the Amazon solution is a little bit more expensive from the actual deployment standpoint. We are not Amazon, we are a startup, so we really had to think about cost from the very beginning when we go to market. So when we've developed our technology, we've really thought about delivering this at a low cost way of tracking people through space, and all of our patented algorithms are around tracking people very efficiently through space, through those space-time events.
Yeah, actually, that's a really interesting point is that I think for Amazon, they're in a position to be able to be, let's call it more complete, more thorough, and certainly work towards that accuracy. But at the same time, they're their own consumers in the sense they're building for themselves, right? Here, you guys are essentially service to other retailers and businesses. So CapEx is going to be a big issue and even OpEx. So the fact that you guys have a small footprint, readily easy training. Once the system gets properly classified into the repository, it's able to reference that. What can you talk about kind of error rates in terms of what are kind of the edge cases where perhaps maybe it won't properly read or classify or identify a particular product?
Yeah, so there's some environments where I think with any AI system, I think that's one thing we found is from the very beginning. I think there's an assumption that everything from day one is 100%. So the system's always getting better and better. So the more data we run through it, the better the system gets. Early on, we were focused on primarily just vision-based shelf sensing, and that as a customer would grab 2 or 3 items at a time, we had some challenges with that. But over time, we've kind of revamped our sensing stack for those edge cases, and now we have those solved.
Super. Actually, you bring up a really excellent point, which is this notion of kind of this running simultaneous, essentially algorithms so that you can identify multiple sets of objects. So in a rare case, but let's say somebody took their hand and kind of swiped it across a shelf and decided to pull out, let's say anywhere from 3 to 5 cans or something, for instance. Being able to actually properly classify and not just count it, but to know that it's the right product. SKU identification. I think that's a really important piece. Let's talk a little bit about theft. So it's one thing in terms of, again, that kind of frictionless approach to, the transaction that leads to POS and so forth. But what happens in the case of theft, and how does this particular solution mitigate theft as well?
Yeah, so our view of autonomous stores is that there's a check-in moment. So when a consumer enters the environment, we currently use a QR code, working with a trusted identity partner that basically validates the consumer, also validates that they have funds to enter the store. Then once someone's in the store, we're able to track all the activity in that space. So as someone leaves that store, we're then able to charge them for the products that they're in there. So the easy way that we think about it, it's kind of like when you're fueling up at the fuel pump, you kind of dip your credit card at the front, and based off how much fuel that you take out, then you're charged. So it's a little bit of a different shopping experience than current checkout-based solutions.
Yeah. Again, I think from kind of the suite of things that you guys are doing and not doing is that authentication portion, because someone else is handling the QR code. But I wonder, just like there's a credit card fraud, is there opportunities for people to essentially, fake that authentication process with a different device, somebody else's QR code, so that whatever purchase that's being made, it's not going to their account, but it's actually going to someone else's account.
Yeah, I think we're looking. Well, I think over time, as these stores become more and more pervasive, obviously there will be some kind of criminal elements that'll try and find ways to gamify the system. And I think, like any solution, we're always going to have to be advancing to kind of combat any of those new challenges as we start to see them. We've been running stores live in the public in multiple countries with some leading retailers and pharmacy, grocery, quick service restaurants, and we really haven't seen a major challenge with that yet. But I would assume over time there'll be some challenges that we'll have to solve. And I think over time there will probably be some biometric authentications added to the mix to make sure that that these stores are all safe and secure.
Yeah, excellent points. Now, I want to go back to the current experience that's out there that's closer to self-checkout. There's a host of issues for those that are in this space, how let's say the scanning system is different from the actual register system to the weight system. And it's kind of a hodgepodge that's, kind of integrated in such a way, but it's quite complex. So in today's self-checkout approach, I wonder what percentage actually successfully checks out on their own without the intervention of a salesperson or floor rep person. And in a fully automated context that we're talking about here, where are the kind of those cases where you need actually still that supervision or some intervention?
Yeah. So we have a few different environments that we deployed at. One, a good example would be we've deployed fuel stores with a leading convenience store operator in Phoenix. And in that environment, it's a really kind of a new vision where basically we're taking automation where they still have an existing C-store, but then we're deploying a store between the two fuel pumps. So basically, while someone's getting their gas, they can walk over and grab items and then basically get back in the car. That's great for me. I have kids, and so to not be able to have to take the kids out and bring them into the store, I think it's a great value add. From a user experience standpoint, that's a new shopping modality. So occasionally, someone wasn't exactly sure how to get into that type of shopping experience, and so we had an ambassador kind of go out there and start to show people how that can work. I think that's a learning that we've learned over time, and with our next generation, we've already kind of had some user cues on how to solve to kind of get people familiar with how to enter these types of stores.
Yeah, actually, you bring up an excellent point, which is, I think the general underlying assumption that we're making right now in this discussion is that we're talking about foods and groceries and, kind of that, smaller kind of, store formats. But I wonder, as we get into different types of product lines, whether it's clothing, apparel, and even services for that matter, how will this potentially change and get manifested into these different use cases?
Yeah, so from our view of it, we've already had, everything from electronic stores, mobile phone operators, clothing, as you mentioned. I've had kind of desire for these type of checkout experiences. Computer vision has had a little bit more of a challenge on the clothing side, but we've also come up with some solves for that as well. So you'll see a lot of our technology getting deployed in sports stadium environments. I think you'll see our technology deployed in some travel arenas as well. So our view is that as the price continues to drop on the cost for this technology, I think you're going to see these type of small format autonomous stores all throughout society. So as you travel on a business trip, you go to the airport, you'll see it there. You'll see it at the base of your residential towers. I think you'll see it in hotel lobby areas. Pretty much almost everywhere that you walk, whenever you want to grab something or you have a need, I think you'll be able to find these stores available.
Yeah. I think what's kind of interesting is this notion of edge analytics and working on the cloud. So you have a small footprint that's working off this small machine on premise, but I'm sure based on the event triggers, it's also reconciling and handling some of those things via the cloud and making sure it's, tallying up the right numbers. What are some of the challenges with that model of edge with cloud, and then what happens when there's disruptions with connections and so forth?
Don't forget to visit astroperkins.com to register for our next quarterly events. Past and current speakers include Julianne Hough, actress, dancer, and winner of Dancing with the Stars, Damian Vaughn, former NFL player, Neil Gregory, Chief Thought Leadership Officer at the IFC World Bank, and many more. To register, visit astorperkins.com and click on Events.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing that we've actually learned about as we ask for data rates in some environments. I think we were laughed at by some of the retail technology players because they're likely to get a 5 megabyte connection. So if we ask for a higher connection, so we had to learn that from the very beginning, and so our system can record all the transactions locally. So if there ever is a break in an internet service, we can kind of replay that back when the connectivity rebalances. But that brings up another opportunity that we're seeing with 5G. That a number of the leading players in that space are very excited to work with us on kind of bringing that kind of high data bandwidth that really can actually help us rethink how our infrastructure is designed, and that we can now link multiple stores together and have the kind of compute happen both local and in the cloud as well.
Amazing. Well, the implications to inventory management, fulfillment, supply chain, queues, demand driven generation, all of these things are hugely powerful. One question I forgot to ask is the fundamental computer vision algorithms that you guys are running, are these your own set of algos, or are they based on some open stack, or are they using third-party API services? And the reason I ask is as you scale, go ahead.
I was going to say, so when we first started off, there's a popular framework that I think pretty much have seen almost everyone else that they use called OpenPose, and we started with that. But then over time, we recognized that kind of full segment tracking through space was just computationally way too expensive. As soon as you got 20, 30 shoppers in a space, it just became overbearing, where then you needed racks of servers. So we invented and patented our own methodology for tracking people through space, and I think that's been one of the game-changing inventions that we have, and that's fully patented from our side, and that's strong IP that's really helped us move it forward and succeed.
I like that a lot, because we've seen different types of startups that's rely too heavily on different API services, and it's fine if you're doing prototypes and small scale, but once you get into larger scale, the economics of that starts to kind of look fairly skewed. The last question for you is lessons learned. Any type of product or project failure, either within the current startup or in the past at the LIFT, that you can share with others?
Yeah, so from our side of it, I think anytime you're really trying to push the boundaries of something new, everyone always assumes that things are going to happen sooner than you would expect. And so a good example would be, we had a timing for one of our stores that we thought we would have ready and to deploy by a certain time. And then we found that, permitting challenges, some other pieces kind of came up. And so I think have a better understanding of what are all the elements required to actually go live was actually an important piece for us. And we found that actually our technology was ready far before all the permitting and the environments are available. So a lot of lessons learned through that process, but it's one of those things, anytime you're going to push the boundaries of something new, you get to run into some of those challenges.
Great insight. I really appreciate that very much. So with that, I have been joined by Brandon Maseda, who is the CEO of Excel Robotics. Thank you for joining today.
Great. Thank you for having me.
If you've enjoyed this episode, take a moment to rate our show on any podcast platform that you listen to. Scroll down to the bottom and push 5 stars. It's that easy. And as always, thanks for listening.